Gene editing has a branding problem. To some, it's a miracle. To others, it's a monster. CRISPR, GMOs, designer babies, the second you hear those words, you already have an opinion. And chances are, it's not neutral. But here's the thing, gene editing isn't coming. It's not something we might deal with someday. It's already here, and it's already changing everything. And like most real-world revolutions, it didn't start clean. In 2018, a Chinese scientist shocked the world by editing the embryos of 2 unborn girls to resist HIV. He bypassed regulations, ethics boards, and international consensus. The fallout was immediate. He lost his career, his freedom, and most of his scientific credibility. And yet, in that one reckless act, he proved something terrifying and undeniable. We already have the power to change human DNA. The question is no longer can we do it, it's should we? And if we do, how much? But to understand that, we need to stop debating science in theory and look at what it's already doing in practice. First, let's talk food. Take a bite of corn on the cob, or a perfectly ripe tomato, or a bag of Doritos if you're being honest. Chances are, something in that food was genetically modified. And unless you live entirely off foraged mushrooms and filtered rainwater, gene editing has already entered your body. And it probably helps you more than you realize. In the Philippines, a rice called golden rice was genetically modified to produce vitamin A. That one change could prevent blindness in hundreds of thousands of children every year. In Hawaii, papaya farming was almost wiped out by a virus, until scientists used genetic engineering to create a resistant version. The fruit came back, and so did the farmers. Even the bananas you eat are sterile clones, but they're under constant threat by a fungal disease called Panama disease, and right now CRISPR is being tested to save them. Without it, bananas, as we know them, might disappear within our lifetime. We often imagine GMOs as some corporate sci-fi lab experiment designed to trick us into eating worse food, but in reality, it's often quite the opposite. The science is used to make crops more resilient, more nutritious, and in many cases, safer. When done well, gene editing means fewer pesticides, higher yields, and food that stays fresh longer without chemical preservatives. That's not dystopia, that's simply dinner. Now, what about people? You might have heard of sickle cell disease, a painful, often life-shortening condition caused by a single mutation in a person's DNA. In 2023, a teenager in the UK became the first person officially cured of it using CRISPR. Doctors edited her bone marrow stem cells to remove the defect. Today, she lives without symptoms at all. One of the worst genetic conditions, essentially erased with a molecular scalpel. And this isn't isolated. People with rare blindness disorders are seeing for the first time after having a single gene corrected. Children with spinal muscular atrophy, a disease that was once a death sentence by age 2, are now walking thanks to targeted gene therapies. This isn't futuristic guesswork. These are clinical trials, hospital charts, and recovery stories. And it goes even further. In cancer treatment, your own immune cells can now be edited, reprogrammed, and sent back into your body to hunt down tumors, something called CAR-T therapy. For patients with leukemia, this has literally meant life after failed chemotherapy. We're no longer just treating symptoms, we're going after the genetic roots of disease itself. Now, sure, there are limits. Most therapies are expensive, access is unequal, risks still exist, especially when editing embryos or making permanent changes. But dismissing the entire field because of a potential misuse would be like rejecting surgery because someone might misuse a scalpel. The real danger isn't the tool, it's pretending we don't already depend on it. You have about 30 trillion cells in your body. But you're also carrying 39 trillion bacteria. And we've started editing those too. Back in the day, diabetics had to get insulin from pig pancreases. It was messy, inefficient, and expensive. Now, We genetically edit E. coli to produce human insulin. It's clean, consistent, and has saved millions of lives since the 1980s. And that's just the beginning. Engineered bacteria are now being used to clean up oil spills, break down plastics, and even detect toxic chemicals in water. More recently, scientists are working on probiotics that intelligently regulate gut health, potentially helping treat obesity, inflammation, and even depression. Think about that. We're learning to edit life to clean up after life. Pollution, waste, disease, fixed not by removing life, but by simply rewriting it. And that's what makes this field so strange. It's not science trying to dominate nature. It's science trying to speak its language. So, what's the catch? No science this powerful comes without risks. A single off-target mutation could cause unexpected side effects. A well-intended edit in one generation could have disastrous consequences in the next. And when you give people the ability to edit the code of life itself, someone, somewhere, will try to use it to enhance beauty, intelligence, or athleticism, even if the science doesn't fully support it. There's no law that guarantees good intentions, but there is one thing we do know. Pretending this science doesn't exist will not make it safer. Understanding it will. The same technology that makes people worry about playing God is already curing blindness, feeding millions, and fighting cancer. The same tools that could create inequality are already reducing it by treating diseases that once only the rich could manage. And maybe that's the paradox. The science that scares us most is the one that's quietly saving us. We love to fear the future, but gene editing isn't a future problem. It's a now solution. And in a world full of chaos, we can't control. Politics, climate, war, gene editing is one of the few places where control is actually possible. Not total control, not perfect, not without consequences, but for once, we're not just adapting to nature, we're meeting it halfway. And if we're careful, not just clever, but careful, we might look back at this moment, not as the start of something dangerous, but as the beginning of something deeply, undeniably human.